This video is only one part of an in-depth review, so check out the rest at thegoodride.com. Thanks for watching. Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and this is Davey, who's just here to be my friend while I do this review. He didn't get to ride this, but he got to ride the other two. So
emotional support.
Yeah.
I'm just here to nod.
And we celebrate average because that's all we have. And this is the Soul board, but they bought the original Sen brand, and this is the 4807 168. More of a powder board, but still a pretty competent groomer board. And I got this in a wide variety of conditions, everything from a bunch of different types of good groomers, some being a little bit on the firm side, but overall really good snow. And then I got this in just deep powder, what this is made for, what this is made to survive in. And I feel like I got a complete test out of this guy, and it was really cool. Next to it is the blower and the pitch wing. The blower is more of a competitor to the 4807. The pitch wing is an entirely different animal. To give you a short summary, the 4807 is a long, kind of gunny, but somewhat forgiving powder board first that also can be a pretty good groomer board. It doesn't ride as hard off the back foot as the blower, but it has a very similar camber profile that likes more back foot weight, a very positive stance, angle, and just has a little more gunny, a little easier to turn for me with my size 9 boots feel than the blower. And you get this for powder, but you don't have to put it away when the groomers come. Let's talk sizing. This 168 actually felt easier to control and manage for my specs, 5'10", 185 to 95 pounds, depending on how much holiday cheer I got into. And size 9 boots, I felt like in powder, the blower was fine, but it was a bit of work. With the pitch wing here, it's a lot of board for me. It rode a lot bigger than its size. And sometimes I felt like I was getting out of control with it. This one, I always felt in control, which is funny because it's the 168. But the width with this just worked really well with me and my specs. Now, when it comes to the shape, this is very tapered, very directional. Got the big old swallowtail going, and you can see these back inserts are sitting right at the tail. This is snow surf. This is set all the way back. You are riding off that back foot, and it is a very tapered directional feel, and all these boards like a posi stance, but the blower and the 4807 can survive if you go slightly duck. This pitch wing is posi only, and front foot drivey and powerful. These guys are way more back-footed and fun. And another thing that makes them so back-foot and fun is there is regular camber off the back foot of the 4807 going into spoon tech and rocker into the nose. So it steers off the back foot very much like the blower. But the 4807 being a little longer, you feel like you have more area in the back to kind of grip, so it didn't feel like you had to really commit super hard to that back foot like you did the blower. So kind of fun. And I would say this is somewhat intermediate friendly. It's just a little easier to skid a turn when you get off your game with these two guys compared to the pitch wing. Pitch wing will thump you if you do not do what it wants. So talking about the flex here, we'll go in the center first. It's got, a lot of the give that you're seeing right now is coming from the tail. Then you go up into the nose here and you kind of play around there. And the nose has got some stiffness to it. Flip it around, and as Davey did, doing one fin at a time, you can see there is decent give off this tail. But it's a little stiffer right here, and it is pretty stiff between the feet. But what's really cool about this flex personality is it's not that stiff overall. It doesn't have a real stiff feel on snow. It has a rubbery feel, but it has so much energy and pop. And all these boards do. Sol is coming from a new factory this year, and they have a new construction that is just really exceptional. It's softer, just as damp as before, and less chattery, bucky, bouncy, more friendly in uneven terrain, and I love that. You can ride this all day as long as you're okay with a big board and messy snow. But as the resort turns on you, it's not just going to be a pure, pristine powder board. It's going to handle all conditions really well. And all these boards did. Even the stiffer, meaner pitch wing was much better in this new construction than it was with the old construction. And I really like this new personality. It has like some of that feel like you get from Yes boards, but with more pop. And I really like that. When it comes to speed, this can bomb. It's funny though, I felt like it was right there with the 62 blower, even though this is a 68. I felt like they could both point it. They're not there with the pitch wing. That's a whole other world. That is just a shorter, meaner, more aggressive, more down the line, straight liner kind of board than these guys. Doesn't look like it, but it is. But this does have very above average competent mountain speed. The base glide is pretty good. I found that all three of them had really upper tier base glide, maybe just a shade below some of our favorite bases like from Gentum Stick. This is just a different quality, but it is very fast, it has good glide, and it kept its speed well when waxed. Now edge hold could be a two-edged sword here. What I mean by that is if you drive off the front foot with this, because you're set up posy, and if you try to drive off the front foot like the pitch wing or other front foot oriented snowboards like this, snow surf rides, the edge hold is going to feel a little washy, a little untenable. It's not going to feel great. Then you put this more of your weight on the second half of the board from the label below, and you kind of drive more off the back foot, but not totally like the blower. It starts to grip, it starts to hold, and it does a good job. But you just have to engage this camber on the back feet and try to stay away from the spoon tech that slowly starts to transition up around the insert. Now, when it comes to turn initiation, funny enough, the 68 was the easiest for me to initiate a turn. The blower is a really wide board, so for me and my size 9 boots, it wasn't that easy to turn. If you have bigger boots, it's going to be easier like it was for Davey here. Once you got this on edge though, I felt like it was kind of in between the pitch wing and the blower in the way it turned. It could do those down the line kind of turns, very similar to what I liked with the Weston Japao. It could do this really cool down the line drivey turn. It didn't feel as aggressive as the Japao or the pitch wing, but it felt good, forgiving, and fun, so you could make these kind of longer drawn out S-turns. But when you tried to carve across the groomer, it didn't shit the bed either. So it's got kind of a fun turning radius that's more on the middle ground side of things that I experienced. But once you get to know this board and you play around with all kinds of turning radiuses, you can do all of them really well and have a good time with this. I think the blower for me, once I got it on edge, was more fun to circle carve. I think I liked the turning experience a little bit more on the blower, but it was so much wider, it exhausted me pretty quick for my size 9 boots. Overall though, a pretty fun turning experience for a board that's powder first. So don't put it away when the powder's gone. Let it stick around and take a few runs on it. Get to know this as a groomer board. It's very fun. Now powder. I got this in some pretty epic deep powder and compared it against the blower and compared it against my spring break boards, the 158 powder glider and the 158 powder pill. Those are epic boards in powder. The powder pill really was just amazing that day for me, and the way it rides powder, rides a little more centered and sits a little more on top of the snow. And it was light but not too light, so you sunk down, but then it really fucked with your speed. You couldn't get a lot of speed and make these big slashy turns. It was kind of a straight liner day where you just kind of went straight and tried to survive. And I was so stoked I had these boards. And I went up with the Powder Pill 158 on the cone in the morning with my drift boards, and then went up with the 4807 right after. Went all the way down to the car, grabbed this thing, and went back up. And it was almost there with the Powder Pill. They both float excellent. They're both amazing boards. It's just all about personal preference. The Powder Pill kind of sits on top almost the whole board, and the nose was peeking out more and the top area was floating differently. This 4807, the tail sinks and the nose stays up. So they were both floating super well, just in a different way. And this spoon nose had such a cool roll to it. Even in this lighter powder, I could feel it. And I just love the way this is so set back on board. It has so much directional float. I was kind of surprised though that I did enjoy the shorter, wider blower a little better. Pitch wing we didn't even take out because it's really not as much a powder board as these boards. They're on another level. This pitch wing is more of a groomer carver. Looks like a powder board, but it's not. And so I was surprised at how well both these boards did against some of my favorite powder boards. And if you like a more set back surfboard style ride that's really off the back tail, these are some of the best powder boards I've ever tried in that kind of style. And I was super impressed. So overall, like I said before in the blower review, if they had a 157 blower, that might be my perfect groomer powder board, a really fun board. And I really love the Soul Shift. That is just a very balanced groomer carver and powder board at the same time. Very good combination. But if you like more a longer, old school kind of ride and kind of more for open terrain, big wide open faces, and just getting good speed and making great turns in powder, this 4807 could work for you. And it's also going to be really fun in groomers, so don't neglect it there either. It's more than just a powder board, and I think it just all depends on personal preference. You were more into the pitch wing, I was more into the blower, and if we had one other rider, they'd probably be into the 4807. All our reviews are a best effort, objective opinion from an average rider's perspective. There's no brand oversight, and we're free to say whatever we want. We send back everything unless it's a favorite, then we ask to keep those or straight up buy them. Now if you need advice, fill out the eHarmony profile in the Contact Us section of the site. It's the only way I can help you properly. If you want to support us, and if what we reviewed appeals to you, it helps if you buy through our links. So, thanks for watching.